Hey guys,
everybody, and welcome to Jack's Treasures on YouTube.
That's right. Today is Wednesday, so it is Why Not Wednesday?
What Not Wednesday?
Oh, that's right. It's What Not Wednesday. Man, I totally messed that up. I guess that has something to do with today's topic.
Today's topic is, yes, it's raid trains and derailments of raid trains.
Oh my gosh. I mean, guys, let me just tell you something, okay? This happens, all right?
Mm-hmm.
We host one raid train a year for veterans on Veterans Day. And it happened on our raid train.
It almost derailed.
It almost did. It was almost.
And it was our fault.
Yeah, and it was my fault, not our fault. It was my fault. You're playing with it, and that's just not even right. Okay, I had that in my hand earlier. She took it from me. All right. Well, let's first go over a couple of the things that can cause a raid train derailment. The first thing that we're going to talk about is something that is out of the control of everybody. Mm-hmm. All right. Loss of internet, loss of power.
Right.
Okay. When you are in a big storm, which we have had people that have been in big storms, even a hurricane.
We were actually in one the other day. We luckily did not lose power, but we kept the train coordinator informed that we were, in risk.
And that's one of the things that you can do. Okay. When you're in a big storm or you know that there's a big storm coming, let the train conductor know and let the train know where to go in case you do lose power and or internet.
Yes.
Case in point, our friend Chris, Cajun reseller, was in a really, really bad storm and lost power. Yes. So all of a sudden he's live and lights go out, everything goes out.
He has a signal, but it's a very weak signal at this point. And we were able to communicate with him, hey, we're here, we'll go live, and you can raid into us and keep the train going.
Right. And then we would just do whatever that we had to do. We were actually on the train earlier in the day. And so we just happened to be in his room when, did we raid into him? I don't remember.
I think we did, if I'm not mistaken. No, yes.
The Four Seasons Picker raided into him.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't remember the exact order.
So anyway, what ended up happening was we went ahead and went live. So in other words, he was able to see, we were not the conductors of the train, but we knew who the conductor was, and he was working.
Yeah.
So we knew that at that point, there had to be, somebody had to do anything. So to keep that train going, you give the people that are in the train a place to go.
Yes.
Okay. And when we were on and we were almost losing power, because the lights did flicker about 4 or 5 times before our show, we were telling everybody, if we go, we just go out, okay, raid back into the
train conductor.
The train conductor.
She was there, and she
which
knew what
was Gwen's Vintage Kitchen.
Yes,
right?
who's awesome.
Yes,
absolutely awesome.
Very much so. So, and if you just lose out everything, and I mean everything goes dead, your phone goes dead or anything like that.
Generally, the conductor hopefully is in the room and they're able to kind of rescue the train at that point. If not, if the conductor's not around and you feel like you have the ability, hey, write in the chat, hey, I'm going to go live if you want to come in my room, and then everybody can kind of reconvene, figure out where to go from there.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like a part of the train or something like that. Those are things that are unforeseen.
No.
Okay. Now there are other things that are foreseeable and that are human error.
Right.
One of the case was mine. Okay, and we'll talk about that.
Let's talk about this one now. That was a time situation. Because Whatnot is people all over the country, and in some cases in different parts of the world even, we're all in different time zones. So sometimes when we're making that schedule, a time zone may get flip-flopped, switched. We give people the time in the wrong time zone. That's what happened.
That's what happened with us.
Case.
Okay, and it was me. I told somebody the time, and I didn't go backwards an hour. I went forwards an hour, or whatever it was that I was supposed to do. I did not do.
Right.
And so and we were in the train. That was one thing. As a conductor, it's a good thing to be in the train.
Right.
Especially that's why a lot of people have multiple conductors on their train because they want to have different people on there.
Just to make sure somebody's there to take care of the situation.
Correct. So we were there, and the person was never going live. And so then we noticed that she had her show scheduled, and this was on me again because I had thought that I had went through everybody and went through my list and said, okay, everybody's got the right time scheduled and everything like that. So what did we do? We went live again.
Yep.
We had them right into us. and then we rated into
the next person on the train.
The next person on the train.
The person that had the wrong time and that was completely our fault. We wound up giving them our slot in the train that was supposed to be at the end, so they were still able to run. Everything worked out. It was a near miss, but luckily,
and very apologetic. I was so apologetic. She was apologizing to me, and I was like, no, it wasn't your fault. It was mine.
Right.
I told you the wrong time. And she goes, well, you told me the right time, but then when I scheduled it, I scheduled the wrong time, and then I confirmed it as the wrong time incorrectly.
It was completely it was double error, and at the end of the day, it was on the conductor. It was on us.
Yeah, it was definitely on us. Now, the next thing that can happen is what?
That's rating into the wrong person. One thing you may have noticed about Whatnot, there tends to be some people's names may be quite similar. I'm going to shout out
Mama Bear.
Mama Bear. A lot of people named Mama Bear. I was going to shout out bearded people.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
But there's a lot of names that are similar. And we were actually on a train where this happened. I'm not going to say the names because it was a complete accident. This person was supposed to rate into someone. It was a common woman's first name, and there were 2 people on that time with the common woman's first name and different letters and numbers afterwards.
Correct.
And he rated into the wrong one.
It was a complete accident. He didn't mean to do that at all. He was just. When you're on a train, it's very stressful, especially a fast 20-minute train. And when it came up...
And I was going to say, if you've never rated, if it's not someone that you're like super familiar with, it'll put up people that it thinks you want to raid.
Right.
Like people you've rated before, people that have rated you.
Yeah, it doesn't know. Whatnot does not know what the raid train schedule is.
But say I'm rating into somebody and I don't commonly communicate with this person, I have to start typing in the thing. So let's say I'm typing in John, John, and then it brings up John Boy 65. Oh, great. That's who I'm rating into. But no, I was supposed to rate into John Boy 37. And that's almost exactly what happened.
That's pretty much what happened in that case. We've almost done it on occasion in things. And because you get flustered, it's like, I need to rate. I want to be on time. And so you click that one that looks like it's the first one. And yes, it happens. So what happens in that case?
Well,
do you remember what happened?
I do. I know part of it. The person that you accidentally raided into, you don't want to completely like ruin their day and be like, hey, we weren't even trying to raid you. you don't want to go into their room and be like, everybody leave, so you kind of let that one go. Right. You just let it go. What our conductor had us do is he immediately contacted us on message.
When I say us, everybody,
he's like, hey guys, why don't y'all go live and raid into John Boy 37 that we were supposed to raid into, my made up name. Y'all all raid into this person, and so we can rebuild the room. And by the fact of us doing that, not only do we rebuild the room, everybody who went into that wrong room is starting to see all these people go live that they know. So
yeah. Like the person that went before, or who else
they're
is on the train.
getting the idea that something happened, and they're probably going to move their way back to the train. The one thing I will say is definitely don't ruin the person's day who you accidentally raided. It's not their fault. So
No. Don't go, this was an accidental where you derailed the train. No.
Yeah.
And when you do something like that, don't be nonchalant. Be apologetic. You don't have to worry. It does happen. Life happens. It's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last time that it happens.
This person was so apologetic that it was, I mean, you could tell he felt bad. Yeah.
You could really see that it was just a horrible mistake, and he hated that it happened. He wasn't like, well, sorry. It wasn't that. It was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I did that. The names were just so similar. But it happens. Yep. That's probably the number one thing that derails trains. Right. Okay, is raiding into the wrong person on the train.
Right.
Either by purpose or by on accident. By purpose, and you know who I'm talking to, don't you? She wanted to.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Now, another way that a train can get derailed, we were actually witness to this the other day. Once again, I'm not going to name any names, but we were on a raid train and we're sitting there, and I actually wasn't following the train along. We were out doing errands, and then I see a friend of mine go live.
We were on the train.
We were on the train later in the day. I see a friend of mine go live, and I'm like, oh, she's live. She's in our train. I'm going to click on it. So I go in her room and just sitting there chatting with her and everything, and we'll get past the time that the raid was supposed to come. No raid.
Yeah.
Still no raid. Eventually.
1 minute.
2 minutes. 3 minutes.
At
3 minutes, one of the conductors or co-conductors popped into the room and said, "You're not getting raided," and no other information yet. Nobody really knew what happened. She was like, "Yeah, you can go ahead and start writing stuff, whatever you want to do." Which I think that was great that she at least gave us that information, or gave the host that information.
So how did this happen? Very, very simple.
Yeah.
Okay. The person didn't know the times.
Yes.
And raided late.
The person who was supposed to
And we're not
raid,
talking about just raiding
No.
late. Just raiding late, like 1 or 2 minutes or something like that. That happens, okay, because you get caught up in your show.
It wound up being 5 minutes before the person realized. And I went back over into the other person's show, and we were watching, and the hosts and all the people are like, "Hey, you got to raid. It's time to raid. It's time to raid." And apparently they weren't seeing the messages.
They weren't looking at the chat.
Right.
So you definitely want to pay attention to the chat, otherwise this could happen.
And eventually, I guess something came through on their thing. I don't know if they eventually read the chat, or there was enough red chat that maybe it popped up, because that's one way that a lot of people will try to communicate, is to do red chat, which we'll talk about that later if we haven't already.
We've only done 2 episodes.
Yeah. But anyway, eventually they found out, and they did raid into the person they were supposed to 5 minutes late.
Yeah. Now, in this case, the person said, he goes, "I thought it was a 30-minute slot. It was not. It was a 15-minute slot, not 30 minutes at all." But that's a case where you're not paying attention to the exact number of how long the train is.
Right.
Okay. So the biggest thing is to pay attention to what time the train is, and raid on time. Okay?
Absolutely.
People count on some of those things, because that person was a 15-minute train. 5 minutes, she did not have the train in the room. She did have people in the room.
Right.
Okay. But she didn't have the train in the room. Train finally comes in. Now she runs for 10 minutes because she's going to raid on time.
Right.
Okay. Which is the right thing to do in her part for being a professional. So yeah, pay attention to your times of how long your shows are.
Right.
And, a raid. Some of the other things that can derail a train is when some people that are on the train just don't like the other person that's on the train that they're raiding into. Okay. And they sort of nonchalant the raid. Yeah. Okay, we're going to raid. Again, you know who I'm talking to.
We might have been the victim of that at one point.
We were the victim of that. Okay.
But
I know you can't believe it that somebody doesn't like Jack's Treasures.
Yeah.
We have a lot of haters.
No, we don't. We have very few haters, and it wasn't even a hater. We were
we don't need the story on this, but whatever ended up happening is that this person did not want to raid us, which was funny because this person signed onto the train after us. Yeah, we were already on the train, and they signed up at that time.
Something to consider along those lines is, on any platform like Whatnot or something, there's going to be people you maybe don't agree with, you don't get along with, maybe you've had issues with before, and you may have blocked them. But if you're on a raid train, you need to make sure that you either do not get before or after them, or if you do, you need to unblock them for the train.
Yeah, and recommend friending them so that they follow, so that they can find you.
There's very few people that we have any issues with, but there are a couple that we do have blocked that show up on trains, and we make it a point to try not to get next to them on a train. One time it happened, and I did unblock them for the train and let the train come through, and then I reblocked them.
Yeah,
because
it's very few. Our block list has like 6 people on it, or 5 people on it. And we've been on for 3 years. Yeah.
So I just did not want to risk derailing the train because of like personal issues.
Yeah, another thing that can derail the train, being drunk.
That is true.
That can totally derail the train. Or you're not on when you're supposed to be rated.
Yes.
Okay.
That's another. I've seen that happen before. They're running late. They're not there.
That happened just
It
the
did.
other day.
It did.
The
Yep.
last trains that we were on, the person was running late and, started the train little
supposedly,
late.
I think, was some sort of
And that actually
technical
started the
issue.
train.
Yeah.
That actually started the train, so it wasn't that big of an issue. But imagine it if it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in here running the train, and I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to be rating into Tracy. Tracy's not on.
Because I'm drunk.
Maybe because she's drunk. Yeah, believe me, don't get drunk on these things. It's not a good idea anyway. But if by any chance any of those things happen, and you are the one that has maybe caused any of that stuff, whether it be hopefully on accident, be apologetic to the train conductor. Be apologetic
And
to the
everybody else
person.
involved.
When we had it happen with us, we tipped the person that and it was during our train, and I was the one who messed it up. First thing I did was I go in there, I pop in, I drop her a $10 tip. I'm like, look, I'm sorry, it was totally my fault. I apologize.
And I know money is tight with some people. Maybe you can't do that. Even
Yeah.
$1 or just a
Or just not even doing that.
apology.
Be very, very apologies and stuff like that. Not nonchalant. Again, be professional on these raid trains. Try not to derail the raid trains, okay? There are other things that could possibly derail a train. People drop out of the train the day before.
Or even during the train. I've seen that happen
Yeah,
before.
we actually filled in on a train that was like, and it wasn't on purpose.
No.
It happened with us, okay? We got into a car accident.
We did.
Okay? On the day that we were on a train, and believe it or not, my first phone call was not to the
I was on
services.
the phone to 911, and he
I
was on the phone
with
to
the train
conductor.
conductor saying, listen, I can't do the train. I just got into a car accident, So life does happen that way, and let people know, okay? We are Jack Trace. This is just our opinion. So if you got different opinions, go ahead and drop it down there in the comment below, all right? Give us a little thumbs up. That's not a thumb. Oh my God, you just gave him the finger, Tracy. I don't edit.
It's the pointy finger.
I don't even edit this thing. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe right down over there. Oh my God, you are horrible with that. Give me that thing. Give it to me. Duh. And as always,
Pat a cat.
that's right. And help us out with Stop Soldier Suicide. The link will down there below. Peace out from Jack's Treasures.